Okay, I think we're ready to start. So we don't have a super long agenda for a change. So hopefully we won't be here till midnight. So good evening and welcome to Aurora's Committee of Adjustment meeting. I will start by introducing the members of the committee and staff. I am the committee chair. My name is Tom Plamondon, and the remaining members of the committee are as follows. To my left, Michel Boyer, and to my right, Clarence Louis, the vice chair, and next to him is Danielle Lajeunesse. The secretary-treasurer is Antonio Greco, and the planner this evening is Matthew Peverini. For each application that will be considered tonight, the following process will occur. I will briefly outline the purpose of the applications, and then the applicant or agent will be given the opportunity to make a presentation. However, one is not required. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. Following any initial comments from the applicant, I will invite members of the public who have an interest in the application to come forward and address the committee. Those members of the public who wish to speak must clearly state their name and address and sign the corresponding request for notice form on the table in front of you, and it is right here on my left at the front. After completing the form, please hand it to the secretary-treasurer. Each individual, they're not there? They are there now. Okay. Each individual may speak only once on an issue, and once discussion has commenced in respect of a motion, no further presentations shall be made. If you require any assistance with regard to visual material or technical assistance, please let me know before making any presentation. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. Your name, address, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including on the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk. Please be advised that the reports being considered tonight are available on the desk in front of you. Again, just up here to my left. Should you wish to receive notification of any of the decisions for tonight's meeting, please complete the appropriate form. Owners and agents will automatically be notified. Please ensure that all questions and or comments are directed through me as the chair, and if relevant, I will request the appropriate person respond. It should be noted that the applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to any questions or comments should the committee feel that it is appropriate. So, we will go to this evening's meeting. So I will look to the committee for approval of tonight's agenda, please. Can I have a mover?
I move to approve tonight's agenda.
So thank you very much. Michelle, seconded by? Clarence, thank you very much. All in favor? And that carries. I'll ask the members of the committee if there are any declarations of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. And seeing a lot of nods negative. Thank you very much. Item 3, adoption of the minutes. So we have the Committee of Adjustment minutes of May the 9th, and that's meeting number 1905. And I'll ask for a motion to approve those minutes as circulated. You're okay, Claire.
I move for the adoption of the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting number 19-05.
And seconded by Daniel. Thank you very much. And all in favor of those minutes? That carries. The second in the adoption of minutes is committee meeting of June 13th, 2019, and that is meeting number 19-06. I'll look for a motion to accept those minutes. I think Clarence is still on, but go ahead.
Perfect. Yes, I move that we approve the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes number 19-06 as written.
Thank you. Seconder. Clarence, thank you very much. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. So we'll move on to the presentation of applications. And the first one this evening is a minor variance application for Bell's Investments Limited at 15625 Leslie. That is in the Addison Hall, Block 13. Minor variance, file number 2019-13. There are 4 applications. The purpose of application MV 2019-13A, the applicant is proposing to allow warehouse as a principal use. And the purpose of application 2019-13B, the applicant is proposing 186 meters from the Kings Highway 404 corridor, thereby requiring a variance of 14 meters. The purpose of application MV 2019-13C, the applicant is proposing 4 barrier-free parking spaces, thereby requiring a variance of 3 barrier-free spaces. And finally, MV 2019-13, I guess that's D. The applicant is proposing 0 loading spaces, thereby requiring a variance of 1 space. Departments and agencies that have been circulated: Planning Division, application reviewed subject to conditions. Building Division, preliminary zoning review. Engineering Division, application reviewed, no comments. Operational Services, application reviewed, no comments. Central York Fire Services, application reviewed, no comments. Electric Utility, application reviewed, no comments. York Region, no comments received. We do have some conditions that were just updated, and I'll just quickly run through this. Further to the affirmation, planning staff are of the opinion that the proposed variances A, B, and D meet the 4 tests as prescribed in Section 45.1 of the Planning Act, and therefore recommend approval of 13A, B, and D, subject to the following conditions be fulfilled within 24-month period of the date of approval, should that be granted, and that the owner provide a copy of the final plan of subdivision, and we're talking about a registered M plan as it relates to the draft plan of subdivision, which I believe has not yet been completed, and that's related to the subdivision file number 2014-01. That, I believe, is the essence of the major change that is associated with this. So is the applicant or agent here this evening? Do you want to come forward, please? Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and honorable members. The application is pretty simple. I don't want to take that much time. I'll just point out 2 things here. One is the condition, the first condition, which is the first comments as denial for the accessible parking, which we propose for 4 accessible parking,
Right.
and the requirement is 7. We propose for just to considering the intent of the use that this is solely for private car storage facilities. So we don't expect that there will be any visitors or that much visitors in that area, in that development. If there is any person who requires accessible space, probably it would be the car owners itself who, obviously for obvious reasons, they will use the car vault for parking. So that is the main reason why we provided for parking spaces, accessible parking spaces, which is almost 60% of the requirement for the accessible parking. And the second one is the loading space. That is also, as we understood that this development will not have any goods to load or unload. This is solely for the vehicle storage, and which we consider that it will be self-driven to the storage facility, so there is no loading space proposed.
Thank you. Is there anything further that you wanted to add, or are you fine with the application as it stands? And I'll just ask you, I took a moment to go through that condition that staff have added, and want to make sure that you're aware of that condition, and if you agree with that.
Yes, we went through the 3 conditions given, and we are aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So I'll ask if there is anyone here from the public who wishes to speak on this particular application. And seeing none, okay. Members of the committee, I'll ask if you have any comments or questions to the applicant.
Yes, through the chair. Questions for the Bell Investment representatives. So on the mezzanine level, the drawings, if I see it well, there's a sink, possibly a stove, a fridge, etc., as an area to, I'm assuming, as maybe cleaning your car, servicing your car, someplace to go and refresh before you head back down. 2 quick questions from what that would result in. The type of servicing that would be allowed on your vehicle. I'm assuming you can wash, not maybe with water, without water, but what type of servicing would be allowed? Would an oil change be allowed? What type of restrictions do you plan on putting in place in terms of what you can do with your vehicle?
Vehicle, and we are considering this. We anticipate that mostly the vehicles will be luxurious vehicle which will be stored here, which might be associated with minor cleaning. Otherwise, as we provided, you see that the mezzanine floor, that is for resting or for just staying there, maybe listening music and all those stuff. And we have a powder room as well, so not any major activity will be there.
So more of a man cave, for a lack of a better term. I apologize for the sexist term, but more of that purpose. That individual should leave sometime before the end of the night and should not be able to spend the night, and that's it. Would that be accurate?
Do you want to add something?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to address that point. Yeah, so there won't be any oil changes done in this. It's really not even washing your car inside the actual units. There would be a wash bay available to the owners of the project. And yeah, there's no sleeping over. So what you see upstairs, the sink would just be for relaxing or refreshing after they want to go back home.
Okay. Your answer indirectly answered my second question, so I'm good. Thank you.
I did that on purpose. Save some time.
Go ahead, Clarence.
Good evening, sir. Through the chair, I noticed now on your site plan, and you might want to just look at it so we can do this together. So there are 81 units, correct?
Yep.
In the 2 buildings?
Yes.
And each unit has a space that would allow, is it not, one or more vehicles to be stored inside?
There'll be 2 vehicle maximum in one unit.
Right. And as I understand, at least might be presuming, but the idea is to allow people who want to store primarily their cars over the winter months? Or is it, maybe you can tell me what the business plan is?
Sure. So it's not seasonal. It's year round. So as an owner of the car condominium, you have access to it year round. It's your space. So it's people who have 1 or more vehicles. If they want to buy more than 1 space, if they have more than 2 vehicles, they can do that as well. We felt that there was a need in Ontario, as we've seen across North America. These projects are popping up all over major cities, that people tend to have more than 1 luxury vehicle, or certain people, I should say, tend to have more than 1 luxury vehicle, and not many places to keep them. There are rental options, but they can be costly, and you can't really be with your car at the time, and that is typically seasonal. If you have more than 1 vehicle, you're paying for more than 1 vehicle to store, and it adds up.
Right.
So we decided to offer an ownership opportunity for these car enthusiasts, and allow them to store their cars year-round, access them year-round. If they want to switch out their cars on a daily basis, that's up to them.
Right.
But we felt like there was a need in Ontario that we would like to fill.
I see. And with the 81 units, I think I read it correctly, that it provides, the building itself provides for a total of 161 parking spaces, right? And 161, is it fair to say, does not include the proposed 4 barrier-free parking spaces?
161 includes 4 barrier-free parking.
Okay,
The
so it's-
requirement though is 100 parking space for, as per the bylaw, the requirement is 100.
Right, so we're, let's say, just dialing back, the bylaw requires that you have 7 spaces. So, we're doing the math, we're really talking about a small percentage here, is it not?
Yeah, that's
that-
what my first point was, that the intent was only for car storage. So we are not expecting that there will be visitors, a lot of visitors.
Right.
That's why the basic understanding was that we can have probably a less amount of accessible parking than what is required.
Yeah, so is not one of those places, perhaps, that will have, 157 parking spaces that are occupied by visitors? Is that fair to say?
It can be used by the owner as well.
Right,
it can be
like
used by the owner as well, right?
more likely than not, there will be a lot of parking spaces that are outdoor that are left vacant because of the type of use for the building. Fair? Maybe.
We're providing the parking space 161 because we need to provide. Technically, we need to provide some visitor parking space. That's why.
Right.
Otherwise, we are not expecting that there will be lots of visitors. So, in
Yeah.
practicality, the owner themselves will use those spaces.
Yeah, you're not expecting, for example, 157 cars parked on the outside and, and 160 cars
I
parked
agree
on the
with that.
inside, right?
I agree with that.
That would be great for your business, but is it fair to say you're not gonna have that type of, amount of requirements for visitor spots? Is that
I
fair?
agree with that.
Okay, so now then maybe help me understand why you're seeking for variance if really the impact is very small to the type of business you're operating. Why not just comply with the obligations provided in the bylaw?
The most of the parking spaces are in front of the units. That's why probably if we want to provide some barrier free in front of that, that will decrease the total number of parking spaces significantly.
Right, so that's why I started off with the premise that if you don't need all the space, given you're not gonna have a full house every day with people visiting your facilities, why not just comply with the bylaw and not ask for the variance? Because that's the problem we have as a result of the recommendation by the town staff. we have to deal
If
with that
it is-
issue.
If it is need to be done, we can do that, but we'll probably do that by providing parking spaces outside the driveway, not inside the driveway.
I'm not clear on that one, maybe town staff can help, but I thought the 161 spots are those designated on the site map that are in a white color in boxes, right?
Correct.
Right, so, can you not spread out the 7 barrier-free parking spaces in
The
around the
layout is
building?
done in a way that if we provide a barrier-free parking space in front of, in the white space showed on site plan, that will, for example, if we go to one space,
So perhaps, just to help us understand this a little bit better, why don't we start with, where are the barrier-free parking spaces on the site plan? Where are they
There's
located?
4 on that side. Okay.
Right. And they're not associated with any particular unit? Okay, okay.
Okay.
providing one parking space per unit, you're not providing two spaces. And that's why we provided the barrier-free outside the building. And if we have to provide another 3, we will provide, probably we will provide outside the building too.
Okay, can that not be done?
We can try definitely, we have to work on that.
Yeah, I think the challenge here is to allow us, you the applicant, to allow us to understand why it is the case that it cannot be done. Why is it the case that, given the proposed layout of this building, it cannot comply with the bylaws? And I'm struggling to understand why. And I see, given your explanation as to why particular units, should provide 2 parking spaces for each unit owner. I appreciate that. What I don't appreciate, perhaps, is, why can it not be done to have 3 or even 4 barrier-free parking spaces added to the other side of where you have proposed to have those 4 currently situated. So, if you have an explanation to that, help us understand. If not, then we know where you stand.
I agree with that, I appreciate that you mentioned that. The other area we can work on that, right now we don't have enough space there, that's why we do not provide, but if we have to do, probably we have to shrink the size of the unit and provide some more parking space.
That might be the case, but I hear ya. Okay, thank you.
Michelle?
Through the chair, and, I agree with my colleague Clarence in the parking spots. So, from the visitors coming in, maybe they're using the mezzanine, the race team, maybe someone's grandmother wants to come, so they need, if you've got quite a crowd of people, that are coming in, looking at cars, or after a race, and you've got 3 or 4 condos all, in action, you may need more than 4. So my question to you is, would you consider adding those 3 extra spaces in your plan?
Yeah, Honorable Member, obviously we'll try that and we'll maintain that. And if it is the decision of the committee, then we'll definitely try to act on that.
Okay, thanks.
Good.
Mhm.
So, just a couple of follow-up quick questions for you. Let's look at that unit 71 that you just highlighted. The 2 proposed spaces in front of that are, I would assume, associated with that particular unit. What is it that a purchaser is buying? Is the purchaser buying unit 71 and that's it? Or is the purchaser buying unit 71 and those 2 spaces?
No, just unit 71.
Just unit 71. So to your point, someone's coming in, they've got a crowd of people, they want to come and look at a vehicle, they can park anywhere. Am I correct? And I assume then if somebody is parked in front of 71 and owns 70, and that's where the activity is, and owner 71 shows up and says, "Excuse me, I need to get into my unit, would you please move those two vehicles?" That's what happens. They would have to move them so that you would then be able to gain access to the unit that's blocked, potentially. Let me run that by you again. The activity is taking place in front of Unit 70. Unit 70 is where the doors open, that's where the car is, that's where everybody's gathering. But they've parked in front of 71, 72, and someone from 71 shows up and says, "I want to get into my unit," those people would have to move. Right? Because they don't own those you don't own the spaces, you just own the unit itself. So those all of those exterior spaces aren't owned by anyone. Am I right?
As of right now, but we might change that now that you've mentioned it.
You see what I'm getting at, and it also speaks to what Clarence had mentioned earlier. You're running a business. You're condominiumizing what I think is a need as well. I couldn't agree with you more. And so if you own 71, what's to stop you then from saying to someone, "Oh, you don't need those two spaces, you only need one, so I can sell the other one to someone else"? Or the owner of 71 would then be able to say, "I don't need those two spaces as an owner now. I can lease that out in the wintertime or in the summertime as an open space." Correct? I'm probably opening a can of worms here for you, or maybe I'm looking at generating additional revenue for you. But my point is, if no one owns all of those exterior spaces in front of whatever unit, then again, I really don't see why you can't make any one of those, combine them and make it handicap. Here's the other thing that came across my mind when I was looking at this, and the question of the reduction to handicap spaces. I drive a vehicle, I'm handicapped. Okay? It's a hot sports car, but I use hand controls, right? I want to come in, I want to buy one of these places, and my buddies, they're all in the same boat as me. And they want to come over and they want to be able to see my vehicle and how I've got it set up. Because, you know what? I've got a better gizmo than they do. So it's not just the owners I'm thinking of and the potential owners who might have handicap vehicles, but anybody else who would be coming. And you want to be able to accommodate that. So, you know, in a development like this, which I think is amazing, with 81 units, I don't think asking for 7 is a big deal. So, the other thing is, as you mentioned, you're not anticipating people washing vehicles there. Will there be floor drains in each of the units?
Not washing their vehicles inside their units. Yeah.
Where would they do that?
So as I said, we were planning to place a wash bay in here, which we have not. But we are planning to place a wash bay for owners to use at their discretion to wash their vehicles.
Is there someone here all the time? I noticed that there's an office there, and I think I read in the staff report that it will be creating employment for a number of people. So how does that work?
So yeah, there'll be a general manager on site. I don't believe it'll be 24 hours a day, but definitely extended hours, as well as a concierge to greet, and then we'll have security 24 hours.
Security 24 hours. So cameras,
Cameras, perhaps a person or two walking around.
okay. And this is more a general question about how these condominiums are built. What's the separation? How are you achieving separation between these units?
I'm actually going to pass that to the development side.
I noticed there were no comments to staff before he does respond. This was circulated to Central York Fire, am I correct?
Through the chair, yes, there were no comments.
No comments at all?
No.
Okay. I'm surprised. Thank you. So how are we achieving separation between the units here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. They will be demised with block walls and probably drywall in some cases. Each owner can finish the inside, the interior of their space the way they like, whether it's drywall or it's just painted block. But they will have fire suppression systems. They will have CO detector systems. It'll be full coverage for whatever the city requires. We're not skimping on anything. Whatever they need, if we're asked even for a floor drain, we'll put floor drains in, but that's not the intent right now.
So okay, so you're still at the design stage
Yes.
then, I would assume, and
Yes.
obviously...
Even the site plan might change a little bit, just a little bit, possibly.
Yeah,
Maybe it will be 75 units instead of 81. I don't know yet exactly.
Okay. So to staff, parking requirements that are based on square footage, am I correct?
Through the chair, that is correct. I believe the ratio is 1 parking space per 100 square meters of gross floor area.
Thank you. So, yeah, the configuration may change, but the footprint may not. Therefore, your parking requirement would remain the same. Okay. Yeah, my question on separation, fire separation and what have you, with the mezzanine within the space. So you've got an area underneath where the vehicle would be parked and then a mezzanine above. I would assume, no, I know it's not. You're kind of overlooking. Right, thank you for that. And I would assume then that there might be a requirement for sprinklering above and below. If that's the case, I'm sure within the building code you'll satisfy that. Okay, I'm good. Thank you very much for answering all those questions. So with that, what I'm going to do, because the staff report is supporting a number of the variances and not all of them, I'm going to go through each one and ask for a motion on each one. So I'll ask for a motion on MV 2019-13A. That's the warehouse use. I'll ask for a motion on that.
Approve. Sorry, I'm missing the MV 2019-13A.
Seconder,
I'll second that.
Michelle, all in favor? So that carries. Thank you. The second application there is the reduction to parking, and that's MV 2019-13B. I'll ask for a motion on that one.
That's not parking. It's the corridor variance.
Oh,
You said parking. B.
oh yes, sorry. The highway variance for setback. My apologies. 13B. So if I can get a motion on that. Thank you, Michelle.
I move for the approval of MV 2019-13B.
Seconder? Daniel, thank you. All in favor? And that carries. 13C, this is the barrier-free. I'll ask for a motion on that one.
Through the chair, I move that we deny MV 2019-13C.
Thank you, and look for a seconder. Clarence? And I will call, just 1 second on that before we do through staff.
Through the chair, if you are denying, can you please state
Give a reason.
the reason why?
Yeah.
It could be with regards to the tests.
All right, so, yeah, it doesn't meet the general intent of the official plan and the general intent of the zoning bylaw.
So for those two reasons, we have a motion to deny it, and I'll ask for a seconder again, and that's seconded by Clarence, and I'll call the question. All in favor of that motion? And that carries. Thank you. And finally, MV 2019-13D, this is the absence of a loading space. Is there a motion for that one, please? Daniel? There you go.
Through the chair, I move that we approve MV 2019-13D as outlined.
Thank you. And I'll ask for a seconder. Seconder Clarence, thank you. And all in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. And we'll move forward. So the next application for this evening. Oh, sorry. Yes. Conditions?
Through the
Okay.
chair, yes.
Yes, so we should have included with the motions on all of them that the conditions as outlined in staff report, including the addition of the one that I brought forward at the beginning of this particular item related to the requirement that the owner provide a copy of the final plan of subdivision. Would we put do you want us to bring a separate motion for approval of the conditions generally? I'll just ask staff.
Through the chair, I believe the appropriate avenue, if you are moving through the conditions, is just to go back and say we are moving A, B, and D subject to the conditions as set out at the commencement of this meeting.
All right, so let's go ahead and do that, Clarence, if you want to.
Yeah, I move for the approval of MV 2019-13A, MV 2019-13B, and MV 2019-13D, subject to the updated conditions dated July 11, 2019, that provided for 1, that the owner provide a copy of the final plan of subdivision registered M plan as it relates to the draft plan of subdivision files SUB 2014-01 with the town of Aurora. 2, that the proposed warehouse be permitted solely to block 13 on the registered M plan, provided to staff in condition 1, and 3, that the proposed warehouse use only permit the storage of goods, including motor vehicles and an ancillary office.
And the second condition, as it relates to the staff report proposed. Oh, it's already included in the general condition at the end of 3. Thank you. Okay, so I'll ask again for a seconder on that. Seconded by Daniel, and all in favor. Okay, so we just made sure that those conditions that were brought forward at the onset of the meeting are included in your approvals. Thanks very much. I'll give that back to you. Okay. So the next application that we have is a minor variance from 154 Ridge Road, file number MV 2019-15. And I'll just go through the applications. The purpose of application MV 2019-15A, the applicant is proposing a home occupation consisting of a private home daycare within an area where the zone symbol is followed by the letters in quotes ORM. The purpose of application 2019-15B, that the applicant is proposing a private home daycare with an outdoor play area, thereby requiring relief from this provision. And 2019-15C, the applicant is proposing a private home daycare with an area of 50.0 square meters, thereby requiring a variance of 5.0 square meters. Departments and agencies circulated. Planning Division, application reviewed and it's subject to conditions. Building Division, preliminary zoning review. Engineering Division, operational services, Central York Fire Services, electric utilities, application reviewed. No comments from those agencies. And finally, York Region, no comments received. Is the applicant here this evening? Good evening. I'll ask if you want to come forward and if you want to make a presentation or speak to your application, you are invited to do so. Good evening.
Good evening. So I'm the applicant for 154 Ridge Road for the home daycare. The home daycare.
So your name and are you the resident?
My name is Shaheen Maladina. Our family lives there, my husband and I, and we have 2 children. Currently, we are proposing a home daycare in the house, along with us living there. The home daycare has enrollment of 5 children total per day. We have more than 5 children because we have 2 children that are part-time. One is being Monday to Friday, and the second being Thursday and Friday. The daycare is meeting the CCEYA requirements in the sense that as a home daycare, we are only allowed as of July, we are now allowed 3 children under 2 and 2 over 2. Previously, we were only allowed 2 under 2 and 3 over 2. Currently, our ratio does not even affect previous or current because our children are currently well above, one is well above 2 and the rest are 2, and then there's the one part-time. I can't say which days because that would cause confidentiality, is under 2. We are right now seeking, we are planning to replace a child in September. So we haven't yet met an applicant that we feel it would be okay in our home, because when you have a home daycare, you want to make sure that the family coming into your home also meets your home and dynamics. I do have a certificate along with the ACE, which states that I know how to operate a childcare center along with a home daycare and administration. I previously worked at a daycare before and after school. I was responsible for making sure that our daycares were all meeting the requirements of ministry and preparing the daycares, all 40 locations, for ministry inspection. So even though I'm a home daycare, we make sure that things like a yard check is done every morning. We also do water flushing. We're not required to, but we just do it as a due diligence type of thing, like a better practice, that we do the water flushing every Monday morning from 6:55 to 7 o'clock. And this is just for the lead. Because the house is also older, we do another water flushing at the end of the day, and that's just to protect children, because the house is older. The proposed playground area, we were not aware that it's an accessory and that we would not be allowed. I would have it still for my children because the Ridge Road is on a beautiful street, but there is no sidewalk, and we have a lot of wildlife. Sometimes from the side of the house we get turkeys, we've seen snapping turtles, hawks, that type of thing. So as an added protection, we always have the fenced in area. Along with that, all the children are like on cots because after 18 months they have to be on a cot. And if they're under 18 months, that's why the nursery has also been highlighted. Currently, we're not using the nursery, only for changing purposes only, but not for sleep. But we've still highlighted it as full because if it's an under 2 child, they must be in a playpen when they're under 18 months. Okay. We also have several high chairs because if a child is under 18 months, again, we have to make sure that they are in a high chair. The kitchen has also been highlighted because we use it as a dining space, and we also have appropriate equipment for children in the home. So for example, we have made lots of investments such as a sensory table, which is over $1,000. The program is Reggio style with high scope. So we are teaching children from nature, and we felt that Ridge Road was the perfect location because of where it is located. The home, before us turning it into a daycare, it was not in the best shape. Like outside, it wasn't as beautiful. We have regentrified the outside of the house, and we have also cleaned up a lot of the yard space for it. We've also put, at the end of the, starting of the property, we put a bee house to save the bees. And this is part of our children's program. I don't know what types of questions that you have for me, but I would be welcome to answer anything through the chair.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you giving us as much information about the daycare as you have provided. So,
did actually in 2017 June call the town, but at that time, because we were not under the Day Nursery Act, they had told us that we did not require any variance. I have now found out that that may have been just misinformation, but at that time I did not quote the address. I only said Ridge Road on the conversation. Secondly, I did speak to the Ministry of Education, and they had given me the same information that because it was not commercial, that I would not need anything else because we're not under the Day Nursery Act. And that's where the confusion was, because 3.83 says that you have to be under the Day Nursery Act, but I didn't know about the ORM, to be honest. So I was actually shocked to find out that I had done something incorrectly, but that's why I'm here to clean up this now.
thank you. Perfect. So I'll ask you to take a seat, and I'm sure we will have potentially some follow-up questions for you. I'll ask then if there are people here, so I'll ask if there is anyone here who wishes to speak on this particular application to come forward and give us your name and your address, please. Good evening, welcome.
My name is Stanley Feinberg. I'm not a resident there. I'm a solicitor for Mr. Angelo Paravano, who resides at 164. He's asked me to deliver some comments on his behalf.
What was the address again? I'm sorry.
164 Ridge Road.
164. Thank you very much. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Paravano has a number of objections to this application, being next door. We should mention, as everyone probably knows, Ridge Road is it's like a dead-end lot. It has about 30 homes there. The lots are all very, very large homes. The applicant is putting in a playground in the very front of that property. It's right next to my client's property, and if nothing else, it's incongruent. Like, you see these large stately homes and then a playground right in the very front. My client is concerned about the value of his house, not necessarily the value of other homes in the area, but if he attempts to sell a property adjacent to a daycare center, that all of a sudden this isn't, an isolated property, a quiet property. It's noisy during the day. So he has concerns about the incongruence, about devaluation, and about noise. There is an issue also about the zoning. In 2011, the owner of the property obtained a variance here to have 2 dwellings at this property. Now, Mr. Paravano's always been of the view that there's a tenant there. Now, he may be wrong, but I know that the report did address the issue of the 2 dwellings. It was on page 2 of the internal memorandum, where it does mention that the subject property was approved for secondary use in the basement. The current resident is using the entire dwelling as one dwelling unit and using a portion for private home care. But the issue we raise is, one, we don't know if that's true. B, if the committee gives its approval, what happens if the next day there's a tenant that moves in? It wouldn't comply with the zoning, because you would only take the residents, I guess, main floor, and they'd be well over the 25% in that event. Right? You'd have to take out the tenant. If another tenant went in, you deduct that area from area used by the resident.
Yeah, I may just let me interrupt you there just for 1/2 a second. We may actually, address that through staff.
Yes. Okay.
And be able to get back to you on that. But
Okay.
go ahead.
Also, there's an issue of time and traffic. This home care center operates, according to our information from their website, between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Rather long time. And cars do come up to that property during those hours. I believe she's supposed to be using it up to 3:30, but it's much longer time. And of course, there's more traffic on the road. The staff report referred to a buffer between Mr. Paravano's property and the subject property, 154. Mr. Paravano advises that there really isn't much of a buffer between his property and 154, and he does get a lot of noise and a lot of interruption. We'd also mentioned that the back is not well maintained. It's a very deep parcel of land. It slopes down. It's had a lot of grass growing wildly, and in fact, it's only cut when he complains. So he does have concerns about the use of this property, and certainly has some concerns about the anticipated change. Those are my submissions.
Thank you very much, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to? Please come forward. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Day, Mrs. Day. I've been at 114 Ridge Road for 34 years. And the address on this location that we're talking with has 2 addresses at it. It doesn't have 154 Ridge Road. It has 154A and 154B Ridge Road specifically in front of it. And I have never had noticed that this has been changed back to a single dwelling home. And when I went on the computer and you look at the blueprint that was done for this house, there are definitely single units in this house. 3-bedroom upstairs, 2-bedroom downstairs. There's only one side entrance to the place. And the name for the applicant is not the name that was mentioned here. So I'm a little bit confused. Is it rented? Do they own it? What is happening here? I'm not sure. The other thing is, I come from a family of 7 children, trust me, and 3 others that lived in the house, 10 kids running around. I don't know how you can have this many children and say that you're only changing them and not putting them to sleep when they're this young. That is I don't know, can't understand that. When you want to add your outdoor space and combine it and make it part of your indoor space, I don't think that's rezoning. I think that's a total change of what the use of space is, in my opinion. The other thing that comes to mind here is I've been on this road a very long time and definitely appreciated the nature and everything else that goes with this. But you would have no choice to have small children that can run out in a flat second because they're close to the road, but to have a fence, you'd have to have it anyway. The way this is set up now, it's been daycare for quite some time. This person has already mentioned that, you know, they have this, they've done that, they've applied for this and that. It was an active day care center. She said she didn't understand that she should have applied for that. That having been said, there is another car that parks in this property that I'm not sure has another business on it. It has a home cleaning business on it. I'm really not sure what is going on. The other thing is we are having a lot of traffic now. There's been a new subdivision put in, which is immediately across from my property, and it's going to be a right-in, right-out road. Ridge Road will be. There's nowhere to turn around if there is an accident. You're blocked in. You have to back out onto Ridge Road from this location. There's no turnaround point. And if there are 2 people living there, or 3 people, is this person doing this by themselves, or are there staff? Who else is involved? I don't believe that one person is doing all of this by themselves when you have that many small children, because I've been in that environment just growing up, and it took a lot of hands to keep kids busy and take care of them. So it's not a fact of not being, you know, sympathetic to somebody taking care of children. It doesn't fit this road. It doesn't fit the ORM, and it certainly doesn't fit our road with only 32 houses where there are no children now. Most of the people I've known are older. There may be some that might be moving in, so I'm not sure where the children are coming from. That's another thing. I don't know where the cars are coming from and who they are. The length of time they're doing this is long days. And my neighbor, Mr. Paravano, I've known this family since, I've been there since before they moved in. I watched them build their house. I watched their children grow up, get married, and now they're at a stage in their life, quite frankly, they're looking for some peace and quiet. And I think that's a fair statement. I'm only speaking as, this may be out of context, but I would feel that way myself. I've done 30 years, I've raised my family, everybody's good, and now I have a crowd of kids sitting next to me that I didn't expect to happen. So that having been said, if you look at the plan that was attached to your thing, which you can't read on your report here, but there is specifically, it says upper level and lower level, and it specifically outlines the rooms in this place. And what I'm concerned about is the smallest bedroom is being used for the children. There are 3 bedrooms on this level, and I'm not sure where the high chairs are going and where everything is going, to be honest. So I do have concerns about the way this is being run and how things are being put together. The fact that they didn't apply originally concerns me, and I know it's private, so they can do certain things, but my concern is A, it doesn't belong in this ORM area. B, this house is designated 2 units and specifically spelled out on the side. You can see the numbers on the house on the road. And the person that applied for this are not these people. I don't know who this person is.
Okay.
So I'd like to have that qualified.
So thank you for your comments, and I think we can start very quickly If you want to have a seat, that's great. And I have a responsibility to allow the applicant to come forward and address those comments, and they will be given that opportunity. But let me just clarify a number of things for you, Mrs. Day. Number one, you are correct. In the application package, the owner of the property is not the person who is residing in the home. So what has to happen is the owner of the property has to give their consent to the person applying for the variance. And that has been given. That is included, and it's signed by the owner. It's been circulated. So the applicant has the owner's authority to request the variance to the bylaw. That's number one. Number two, again, in the package that the committee was circulated, you are correct that in 2011 there was an application that was filed in 2011 under the requirements of the Planning Act to create a basement apartment, and that was granted. So it would seem natural that if that has been granted, that you would possibly see two addresses in order to qualify. Your comments about the unit itself having only one entrance, that's a building issue. That's not before us for consideration tonight. It's not before us tonight to consider how the applicant actually provides the care for the children. That's not something that we have any authority to even speak about. The only thing that we can do as this committee is review the application based on the information that we have received. In addition to that, look at what staff's recommendations are. So I don't think that's covering off all of your concerns, or for that matter, all of Mr. Paravano. My apologies, sir. So I think the applicant has had a chance to hear what some of their concerns are. And I don't expect that you're going to address anything that has to do with the value of a neighbor's home. Because again, that's not something that you have control over. It's not something that we necessarily have a control over. It's not part of what we would be basing our evaluation on. But I'll ask if you do want to speak to issues related to some of the comments, perhaps related to noise, perhaps related to traffic and time of operation, and their concerns about that, and perhaps even the buffer and why the outdoor play area is in the front yard. I don't think you need to address condition of the property. Again, that's not something that's been highlighted here in your application or from staff. And while we're doing that, I will ask staff, so you can come forward and address those issues if you wish. The one legal question that does come out of this, and I'm wondering if staff, you can look into that, and that's the question of if there is a second unit, was the floor area calculation for this based on the ground floor, or maybe I should be asking, was the area of the second unit in the home taken out of the calculation? Is there anything that you can help me with on that one? I don't know if you were looking at it while other comments were being made, but I'll ask you to look at that while, if you don't mind, and you may or may not have an answer for me on it, but it's something that I think was raised and may have some validity here with regards to the percentage of use within the building. And I'll ask you again, and I know that you are the tenant. I'll ask how long you have been the tenant of the property.
I myself got married to Sean in 2010.
Okay.
Sean has been renting the property since 1992? 2002.
2002. Okay.
Okay.
So
It's a long relationship.
you've been
with
there for
the-
quite a long time,
Yes, and the
Okay.
owners of the homes trust us very well.
obviously.
This second unit, I'll speak to the second basement unit as well.
Oh, okay. Go right ahead.
Because we were there when it was done. We were renting the top of the whole house, and to help with the rent, we had asked the owner if we could rent the basement. So then we came for the variance and got the second. Since then, Sean has gotten married to myself, and we need the space. We wouldn't be renting the basement because what we've done is converted the living dining room as a daycare room, and that's also the place where they sleep with the cots. Those are daycare cots. They're the Angel Care ones. And that's why we also added the nursery room, because the playpen would not have fit properly in that room. And just to speak about the space that we have there, in a center, that room would accommodate 12 children. And centers are open nowadays from 6:30 to 6:30. We're open 7 to 6. There's only 5 children coming in on a daily basis. Not coming in, 4 children coming in on a daily basis, because one of the children, because my son is under 4, we have to count him in the numbers. So therefore, only my daughter is not counted because she's turning 8, and as of last year, did we take her off the numbers, because before that, we had to, even though she was in school, we still had to count her. So at that time, there were only 3 children coming in. The traffic has not increased on our street because the timings of the children, there's one child that comes right at 7, one child comes in at 7:30, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there's a child that comes at 7:15. There's another child that comes at 8 o'clock. Okay, so the driveway, even though it's a big driveway, because like you said, like Mr. Paradano's lawyer said, or solicitor said, that what's it called? These are big lots. So the way the house is located, there's a big driveway. There's enough room for all my clients to come in and drive in. None of them drive on the, park on the street, even though sometimes it is allowed, because I've actually sent a memo to them, letting them know, just to not disturb our neighbors, please try to park on the driveway, because there's so much construction going on in our area. And I don't want, to interfere with the trucks, and 7 o'clock, of course, the garbage truck comes by and stuff like that. There was one other issue. I understand the concern about value of the home, but let's put it this way. What if Sean and I actually had 5 children, right? There would be noise, right? And you can't change, I understand. As a property owner, my parents owned a home in Richmond Hill, and that's where we came from. You can't, that happens. Okay, people do move into next door, and what if, God forbid, you get somebody who is a drug dealer? It takes a while to remove a person like that. Okay, so I understand the concern about the value of the home, but I actually think 154 Ridge Road has become a more desirable property because of the daycare. As for why the playground is located in the front, if you look at the floor plan of the house, the front door is it's in the front yard. If we were to put the playground in the back, I would have to take the children out of the front door, around the back, and play in the back to make it okay. This way, with the fencing that we've done, they come out, and we put a fence along the sidewalk there too, and we put an extra fencing around it so that the children can't run to the driveway. They have to go through 2 gates before getting to the driveway. So that's the extra care that we've done. And we would have done that for our own children too. Because, like I said, Ridge Road is a rural route. It's it's zoned for 40 kilometers an hour. We have some residents that are actually going 70 and 80. So some of the residents also need to start abiding by that law too. So, because I've also considered putting something on beside where the 154 sign is to say, kids at play, please be careful. But, and I'm surprised that this issue is coming up because when my cat was missing in August last year, I met every single one of my neighbors and I introduced myself as the person with a daycare at 154 Ridge Road. And many of my neighbors, to my surprise, said, "Oh, you own a daycare? We didn't even know." Because it's so quiet. We only have 5 children at play. It's not like 30 children, like in a kindergarten classroom, yelling their heads off.
Okay.
And our children are well behaved.
Sounds like you've addressed some of the comments that have been made by members of the public. And so can I come back to the one of the questions that I put to staff? You can't. No, once you've brought your concerns forward, I believe at the beginning of the meeting I was pretty clear about how this process works. So let me come back to staff, please. Yes, you can, by all means. Thank you.
Through the chair, the zoning bylaw section 4.6 provides some clauses that with regards to home occupations. Subsection 4.6.6 states where a single detached dwelling unit contains a second suite, where a single detached dwelling unit, semi-detached dwelling unit, or link house dwelling unit contains a second suite dwelling and is permitted to have a home occupation, the home occupation shall be only permitted in 1 unit. So with the 2 units at play here, the home occupation is only allowed in the 1 unit, which the sketch has shown, the sketch provided as part of the application has shown is confined to the primary residence on the main floor. Further, subsection 4.6.5 of the home occupation section states that not more than 25% of the gross floor area of the dwelling, not dwelling unit, shall be used for the purpose of a home occupation. And in no case shall the home occupation exceed 45 square meters. However, the applicant is here asking for 50.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, it was somewhat covered off in the planning report. I noticed that on page 3, second paragraph. It speaks to that of the dwelling, and so yes, your calculation then does make sense from that perspective. I will ask if there are any questions from members of committee. Michelle.
Through the chair. So my kids grew up in home care, but before they went to full-time school in a home care situation like yourself, a homeowner, mother, had a couple kids, and took in 3 or 4 kids through York Professional Services. So I understand your business model. And the home my kids went, the home was 40 feet frontage, right? So a very busy road, with a home, et cetera. So very similar business. So my question through the chair is, how many cars in total are coming in and out? So you got 2 kids, so you've got 3 others coming in. So is it 3 cars through the period of 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. coming in and out? Okay.
So currently, because of the timing of the children, it happens to be that they're coming in one at a time, but there may come a point, because I can't guarantee for years to come that this will always be like that. But it could be like 5 children, because once my son turns 4, he'll no longer be in the numbers, so it'll be 5. Okay. Also, like, we also have to look at the fact that, like, it's a big driveway. Even with my car sitting there and Sean's car sitting there, you can still fit another 4 cars. I think 4 is tight. I wouldn't like it, but it's pretty big. Okay, so that's that part. You did say that I was from with York Professionals. I've been approached by many agencies to go with them. The only reason I didn't go with an agency is because of my qualifications. I didn't like the percentage that they're taking away from me.
Right.
That was the only reason.
Okay. So my only concern through the chair was the parking and the traffic. I think everything else I support, and given that the driveway is large, it's a wide road, there's a lot of space there, I have no concerns with this application and will support it.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Anyone else? Daniel? Yeah?
Thank you, through the chair. First question, based on the application, based on the application documents, some of the floor plans, etc., it looks as though the daycare started sometime after 2011. Would that be? Sorry. Okay. So when did the daycare start?
Opened officially September 2017.
17. Okay.
With 1 child, and 1 casual being my cousin's child. And because he transitioned with me, he had 1 or 2 days of last week of August.
Okay.
Okay, 2017. But official start date is September 2017.
2017. And how quickly thereafter did you, I'm not sure how you found out that there was an issue that you had to come to us with.
This March.
This March.
This
So
March.
about 1.5 years that it took for this to come to your attention.
Yes, and also, like I said, I was surprised. It was March break that I was told that there was a problem, and I right away let Steve come to the house that day. So there was no like hiding things. This is what we're doing and how we're doing it. And the other thing is, we spent a year almost empty, because it takes time for a business to grow. And I'm proud to say that on Facebook we have very close to 400 likes because of the ideas that the daycare does do. So we're not only affecting just Aurora, we're also helping people in like places like Vietnam with all the ideas that we do at our daycare because of the type of lot that we're on. To top it all off, Google has us listed as a 5-star. The care is excellent at my daycare because we have all those recommendations on both Facebook, Google, Instagram, and we also have a blog post.
And I'll ask my next question in a way that will allow you to answer it so you don't burn any bridges. Did you find out through town or otherwise that there was an issue?
Through town.
Through town. Okay. Thank you.
Clarence, no questions? So going through the staff report and looking at some of the concerns that have been raised, it appears that staff are of the opinion that that my concern was, as Michelle's, was the traffic. When it comes to daycares, I guess being a dad and having lived through, similar circumstances, traffic issues have kind of always been in the back of my mind as one of the most important, getting in and getting out of a daycare, whether it's a commercial, like a Montessori commercial operation, or the home-based. I'll be honest with you and tell you that my concerns on traffic, members of this committee won't know, but certainly staff will know that other daycares that have come before this committee, staff will know that I've always, at some point in time, made a comment about the drop-off, the pickup, the convergence of traffic on main highways or main collectors, and having gone up and down Ridge Road a number of times, I can safely say that it wouldn't rank up there with one of the more serious concerns that I would have had. But you've addressed that. As it relates to some of the other concerns that have been raised, I think my only concern really, in addition, was the location of your outdoor play area. You've explained that it's front door oriented. I would assume that there must be a back door, in which case it might be easier for you, looking at the floor plan, to monitor what's going on outside in the front, easier than it would be if it were located in the back.
As a daycare owner,
Right.
I cannot not be with the children outside. I can't be inside monitoring. That's a definite no.
So you have to be outside when they're outside.
Whether they're outside, inside, in the playroom, I have to make sure that I can't even, for example, I'll use my foot as an example. Let's see, this was my doorway. I cannot go like this if kids are there.
Okay.
That's why even when it comes to the cooking for the children, it's all done at night, pre-done, and then it's just warm up for them.
Understand.
Even oatmeal for morning, pancakes, same thing.
Gotcha.
And as your parking issue will add to that, is that all of our clients, that's why we're in a situation where everybody's two, because we've gotten children from centers because they were concerned about the parking being in a plaza, and when they saw Ridge Road, they were like, this is the place they want to be because their children are safer.
Understand that. Okay. You've answered all of my questions. I think you've responded to most, if not all, of the questions from the members of the public. So thank you for that. I'll ask the committee now for a motion. If we want to deal with all of these at the same time with a single motion, we can do that, or we can go on an individual basis. C does have a restriction, you're correct. So let's look at any other conditions. And yes, C has drawing. C has a drawing actually attached to it as well. So when we're bringing a motion forward, let's include conditions in our statements. And I'll ask, I should have asked, I'm sorry, are you aware of the conditions that are being imposed on this application? So one of the conditions that staff are suggesting, that if approved, minor variance 2019-15C, and that is limiting your square footage, right, to the area that is highlighted and identified on drawing A1. So if we approve this, you've got to understand that your limits are identified and they've been highlighted on the drawing, and that's as far as you can go.
Yes.
Okay, so that covers that. So I'll look to the committee then for motion. Clarence?
Yeah, I move for the approval of application MV 2019-15A, MV 2019-15B, and MV 2019-15C, subject to the condition as recommended by staff, that being the approval of variance MV 2019-15C be limited to the highlighted areas identified on drawing A1 as attached to the application.
Is there a seconder for that? Michelle?
Through the chair, I second the motion.
Thank you very much. I'll call a question. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. Okay. So I'll ask members of the committee, is there any, or staff, if there is any new business?
Through the chair, we received an appeal package for the 29 Church Street application, which was heard at the June 13th Committee of Adjustment meeting. The package will be sent tomorrow to the LPAT for a pre-hearing date. In terms of timeframes, that's ultimately up to the LPAT once we send it in. So just some new business for the committee.
Thank you. Is there anything around the table? I've got a couple of questions, but anything around the table? No? So to staff, we had a number of deferrals at the last meeting, including one that was requested for a single-family dwelling. We went through the whole, I know you were not here, both of you were not here, and we missed you. But have any of those deferrals or any follow-up as a result of discussions that did take place, what was Hawthorne, I believe it was, 10 Hawthorne. Have any follow-up discussions taken place on the requested deferral items and or the Hawthorne application?
Through the chair, there was no update on a request for the Hawthorne variance. With regards to the 200 Wellington and 7 Kenley properties, they are scheduled to be on the upcoming agenda.
Okay. And I can't leave without asking, is there an update on the Henderson file applications that were subsequently refused by this committee?
Through the chair, there is a pre-hearing scheduled. However, offhand, we're not aware of the date. We can make that date available at the next meeting or following this meeting.
So there has been an appeal?
Yes, there has been an appeal.
Okay. I would have expected that. I just wanted to make sure that that the rest of the committee understood that that had taken place. Okay, and that's it for new business from my perspective and everyone else's, so I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Through the chair, I move that we adjourn for today.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned. Thank you.